So today's a big day. We're going to pull out the engine on the Corvair and get started on the rebuild. Hey everybody, welcome back to Auto Anatomy. I am Sean. Thank you so much for joining us. So today we are going to start pulling the engine out of our flooded Corvair and start the engine rebuild process. Now, if you saw in the little short video that I released last time, you know, the engine runs beautifully and has great power. At least it feels like it has good power. But the blow-by is just getting way too much for me to feel comfortable with. And, you know, could I sell it as a running and driving car? Yeah, but, you know, ethically I just can't let it go with what it is. So in this video we're going to pull the engine out, get started on the disassembly process, and kind of see what all we're going to need. Now this is not going to be a complete rebuild. I'm most likely not going to split the case and do, you know, turning the crank and replacing, you know, main bearings and that kind of stuff. I'll take a look at the crank when I pull the rod caps off and, you know, just kind of get an idea of what it looks like. If the crank looks bad, that's a different story. But we're going to pull the engine out and get started on the rebuild process. Before we do, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on that bell to be notified when any new videos come out. All right, enough talking, let's get to work. So what's unique about the Corvair is you can actually drop a lot of the engine components still attached on the engine. So we'll have to undo, obviously, like the throttle linkage and fuel lines and stuff like that, you know, battery wiring. But most of it actually stays on the engine while we drop it. We'll have to go under the car and under the drive shafts, under the shift linkage, a few little things like that. But essentially this whole thing drops as an assembly, so we'll jack up the back of the car. I've got just a little cradle that I roughly made up to hold the engine in place. And then we'll drop the whole thing down and start pulling it apart. All right, so the engine's out. Whew, that actually really wasn't that bad. I mean, all things considered, it took me about maybe a little over an hour, taking my time to get the engine and transaxle out. Now, first step is I've got to clean this thing up. You can see how dirty it is and just, you know, it's got dirt dauber nests on it and all that other junk. We'll get it outside, get it cleaned up, start pulling the tins off, pull the exhaust off of it, and start pulling the heads. So I got all the tins off, or most of the tins off, and I at least want to pull one cylinder head off so I can see what the bores look like. Now I think I'm going to pull the passenger side off here, because this is the one, if you remember, had the lowest compression like at the very beginning when we got it. So I suspect that this is the one that probably has the most like either bore damage or the weakest rings. So let's pop this cylinder head off and then see what it looks like underneath. All of the head bolts or nuts or whatever are out. Now it's just a matter of seeing if it'll come off. Okay, with the head off, you can actually take a good look inside the cylinder, and it doesn't look that bad. There's a little bit of a ridge here that I'm gonna have to ream, but let's see if I can get some light in there. Yeah, not too bad. That's number one. Here's number three. See if I can rotate the engine a little so we can see a little better. Well, let's do this one, number five next. I don't see anything broken. I don't see any big gouges in the bores. Everything looks kind of okay. I mean, there's a little bit of carbon on top of the pistons, but that's not really that big a deal. So far I'm not seeing anything that's like huge red flags. Ooh, this looks like there's not a lot of ring tension because I can move these out super easy. Coming over to the head, let me flip this thing over. You can take a look at what the combustion chamber looks like. Okay. Just a bunch of carbon and gunk down in here. It's really not too terribly bad. I'm gonna have to like wire brush these and clean them up and see like really what it looks like. But so far, I'm not too upset with what I'm seeing. So I pulled one of the pistons almost out of the bore just to take a look and see what the skirts look like. I mean, there's a little bit of wear there, but man, it's really not bad. Coming around inside the bore itself, you can see there's a little bit of crosshatch still in there. Nice and shiny. I think we may have lucked out. Oh wow. See if I can see this. If you look down inside, you can actually see how big the piston ring gap is. It's like, I don't know, a 1/4 inch, 3/16 of an inch maybe. That might be why it doesn't really have great compression. So overall, I'm actually pretty happy with the condition of the engine, at least from what I've seen. I think that I don't see any like major gouges in the bore, that I don't see a big hole in the piston. The cylinder head doesn't look too bad. I still have one to come off, and then, pop the rods off and pull the transmission off and, a whole bunch more work. But that's gonna be next video. Make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss a moment of our Corvair rebuild project. And that's gonna wrap up this video. Thank you so much for watching. God bless. Merry Christmas. We'll see you after the new year.